Previously on the Woke Real Estate podcast with the student master teacher, Mr. I Stay Woke, Chris Monroe.
Simple as that. Makes sense. We got Robert Glenn over here on Facebook wants to know, how are you structuring the MLS deals?
Yeah, it just kind of varies. Every deal's a little different, but the MLS deals, typically we go in. I mean, it's rare that we go on the MLS to find a deal to wholesale, right? Because everybody can see that information and they're asking basically retail until somebody makes an offer that they accept. So like the offer amount isn't really relevant, or like the asking price isn't that relevant to us. But I think the point that I want to make before I explain that is we're never buying on the MLS to then wholesale. Very, very rarely, right? Don't try to do that. It's very hard. What we do buy on the MLS would be great fix and flip opportunities or great rentals if we can get discounts on them. But the discounts typically aren't 30%. They're like 15, 20, maybe even like 16, 18, somewhere in that range typically. But how are you structuring your MLS deals was the question. And, I'm not an agent, but my partners are agents and brokers. So they represent us as a owner agent, right? And we just make the offer and we ask for, anywhere from 5 to 10 business days for inspections. And if it all checks out, then, we're typically making our offers not contingent on financing with a private lender. And we'll put our closing date out, 30 to 45 days, but we put on or before in terms of the closing date. So we don't have to go back and amend it if we can get the private lender lined up or even the bank. We're typically buying with private money though, right? Because it's just easier to be quick cash, right? But not always. And that's it. It's very simple. And we just line it up. Now, one thing I do want to mention, like super pro tip, when you're getting inspection period days, just add in one word, and that's business, and it's going to increase your time by like 40%. So 10 days is really 14 business days. It's 40% more time, guys, for one word. Slip it in there. How many days do you need for inspections? I need 10 business days.
Business days.
14 days. So slip that in. That's a pro tip. But yeah, man, I mean, when we're buying on the MLS, it's a little different, of course. But don't overthink it. You still got to make the offer. You still got to go look at the property. You still got to analyze the deal. Just do all those things. One thing that the MLS is kind of a pain in the ass is the agents are always asking for proof of funds. So get with your hard money lender, get with your private lender, and get those proof of funds so you have it available. Otherwise, they're going to be asking you for it, and sometimes they're not going to submit your offer to the seller until they have it because they don't want to waste the owner's time, their client, which I get. Again, it's not necessarily something they should be doing, but it happens. Just know that it does, and just you can't get upset about it, man. You just gotta understand it.
Roll with the punches. Cool. So you also mentioned that mentors and stuff kind of helped you out. What kind of advice do you give a person that's kind of getting into this business? How do they find a mentor of their own?
Always go with the person that's actually out here doing it. As simple as that is, find the person doing it. Because wholesaling, you can learn that on YouTube. You can learn it from doing, Facebook, from anywhere. But learning from an investor that actually owns properties, I think that's the best education. It truly is. Because like they already went through the process. You're going to hear about, their wins, their losses, their everything. And that's the best education ever. Because we all take losses in life, in real estate, no matter what part of the transaction. But those losses as an end buyer is completely different. You know what I mean? Wholesalers, we might say something and, oh man, we lost this deal. But imagine an end buyer losing a deal. They lost probably like $20,000. So those are the real life lessons. Always learning from the people that are doing it. More than anything.
Right. Action takers, not talkers. Everybody, I do this, I do that. And you look around, you ain't never did nothing but talk. Today's broadcast is being brought to you by WokeSkipTracing.com. Look up phone numbers and email addresses with ease, with pricing as low as only 15 cents per match. Not per search, per match. If there's no number or email address, you don't pay. Get accurate data in just minutes. WokeSkipTracing.com. That's WokeSkipTracing.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, women and children of all ages, it's about that time. It's Monday Night Raw, real estate style. What's going on, everybody? We are streaming live on multiple platforms right now: Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, the gamer site, and on the YouTube channel at ChrisMonroeSTL. We even got a few people over here watching on IG. Make sure you hop on over for the full experience because we got a heavy hitter coming out, swinging and bucking and swinging. He's in the green room right now, getting ready. But before we get started with the show, go ahead and drop your name in and let me know where you're coming in from so we can give you a quick shout out. Plus, I got a couple of brief announcements. Coming up next week, Monday, we'll be on with Miss Kayla Holbert. Kayla buys houses. Might have seen her all over the internet talking this real estate talk as well. Everybody does this in different ways. So I always like to talk to people in other markets. How are they doing things? How some things we can try to pull some tips that we can use and implement into our strategies. Kayla buys houses on next Monday, November the 9th. Coming up later this month, closer to Thanksgiving, we're on with Mr. TJ, that's right, out of Houston, Texas, talking those short-term rentals. I think he got, I don't know, a whole lot of Airbnb rentals, doing big numbers down in Texas. And we're going to pick his brain on how to get into that game as well. So that's a great show for you. And as you know, tonight we're on with Mr. RJ Bates III. He's about to come out here. I don't know what he's drinking right there, but it looks like it's delicious. But we're going to bring him out here as well. If you ever want to be notified of any of the upcoming live streams that we do each and every Monday night, all you have to do is text JV to 31996. That'll get you the free joint venture agreement. Plus, you'll be on as far as getting the notifications, so you don't have to remember or wait for the notification from YouTube or wherever you're watching. You'll get a text. Some people just got the text about 1 minute ago to say we're live. Just text JV to 31996. That's how we do it. So let me see who we got up in here real quick. What's happening? Homicide. I don't know if that's a good name. That name kind of creeped me out every time I see it. But what's up with you? What's up, Angelo B? Good to see you as well. Let's see. Angie B. That's right. Angela Long. What's up? How you doing? RJ Bates, the legendary. That's right. Let's go. So what I need y'all to do is give this video a thumbs up, give it a like, give it a share, tag somebody who wants to know about this real estate stuff because we got a heavy hitter coming in for you. What's up, Facebook user watching in the group? Hit that description in the bottom to let your name be shown as well. What's up, Philip? What's up, Nola in the 504, Louisiana in the building. I think he did a deal in Louisiana. Titanium in the house. That's right, Cassie. What's up? And let's see, Miss Truesdale. Good to see you as well, and everybody else. Renee, I see you too. So great to have you all on. It's about that time, y'all. We about to get it popping.
And we have and we have Mr. I Stay Woke. And Mr. I Stay
Woke. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? This is the student master teacher, Mr. I Stay Woke, Chris Monroe, and I'm right back at you with another real estate video. Tonight we got Mr. RJ Bates. Welcome to the Chris Monroe Show, and how you doing, bro?
What's going on, man? I just wish that beat could be playing the whole time in my headset, dude. That thing got me pumped up. Yeah.
You like, wait a minute.
I know, right? Never take advice from a quitter. I love that quote right at the beginning, man. That's cool.
That's right. We got to definitely inspire people because, you know, doing this business can definitely have its ups and downs. So for people who may not know, who is RJ Bates and what do you do?
I do a little bit of everything in real estate as far as flipping houses. We own rentals. We've done owner finance. Vast majority of what we've done is wholesaling. We're based out of Fort Worth, Texas. My company's Titanium Investments. We've been doing this since 2014, went full-time in 2015. We do all of this nationwide. I just got done doing my 50-50-50 campaign. we have a lot of the states that we mainly target: Hawaii, Alaska, Arizona, Missouri, Ohio, and Texas, of course. Those are our main markets. But, I decided that I wanted to branch out and see if we could do all 50 states. And it was a great experience because it got me involved in the acquisition side of things full-time, all day, every day. And we were pretty successful at it. We got a deal in 49 of the 50 states. But Utah was the one that decided it didn't want to comply with the challenge there. So, but that's a little bit about us, man.
Wow. So great. So you've been doing it for a few years. What is it that made you come up with this 50 deals and 50 states thing in the beginning?
To be honest with you, I think a lot of people probably thought that it was, a kind of a ploy to get followers or gain traction on the affiliate side of business or something along those lines. The truth of the matter is really what we needed a boost in our business. We needed a change. And I wasn't happy with the results that we had been getting over the past several months. We had a lot of turnover, people coming in and going, and just things weren't working is the best way to put it. We were making money, but not at the level that we really wanted to be, and so for me, it was, putting my back against the wall and saying, okay, stop putting the onus on somebody else. Put your back up against the wall and go do it yourself, just like we used to do in day one. And shout out to Aaron Bevins. He kept talking about the book written by Tim Grover called Relentless. I listened to that on Audible, and I listened to it about in a day and a half. Got obsessed with it, and I really loved the analogy that he uses. I guess it's not even an analogy; it's just really the whole premise of the book. But it's, are you a cleaner, are you a cooler, are you a closer, or something along those lines? All I know is I'm a cleaner, and I knew that. And the way to do this is I had to put the onus on my back, put my back against the wall, and I could have very easily have said, "Hey team, I want to get a deal in 50 days in all 50 states." But by making it public and coming out and stopping my podcast and broadcasting it live every day, I essentially created worldwide accountability partners. I mean, we had people all the way in Israel, the Philippines, all across the country. You were joining in, watching the lives. You guys were essentially my accountability partners, and I was just sharing my journey along the way. Gary Vee talks about that. Don't create content, just document your journey. And that's essentially all we were doing. And there was days where it was beautiful, days like Little Rock, Arkansas, where we got 4 deals very easily. And it looked like I was the greatest acquisitions person of all time. And then there was days like California where, I worked for 13 hours, sent out 8,000 text messages, and never even got close to getting a deal. And I think what funny enough is, coming out of it, people actually got more from those days where it was tough and I struggled than they did the days where it was easy and there was a ton of success, because they saw me, just keep the grind going and put my head down and just battle towards getting a deal, and eventually showing how the follow-up to this business led to getting, contracts in those very difficult states. So in all reality, this was just as much for us on the business side of things and enforcing change within Titanium Investments than it was gaining followers or building an influence or affiliates or anything else.
Wow. I mean, because I talk to people all the time, and they're like, "Oh, somebody wants to sell. I want to run out to the house." And I'm like, "Man, it's a dude on the internet right now showing you that you can do deals from the comfort of your own home,
right?
And anywhere in America. It's paperwork, basically. If you're not
absolutely. I think sometimes we overcomplicate what wholesaling is, right? I mean, when you really break it down, what are we doing? We're selling a piece of paper. That's what we're really doing. But then when you break it down to, well, how do you obtain that piece of paper? Well, the first thing you have to do is solve a seller's problem. And I think what we saw is that, people kept asking me, RJ, what list are you using? And I don't think they really enjoyed my answer, because it was, the list doesn't matter. Okay. All of the lists work, just like all of the marketing techniques work, right? SMS works, cold calling works, direct mail works, bandit signs work. If they didn't work, people wouldn't talk about it. Okay. Right. And people wouldn't do it. And so the lists themselves, all that was an indication to me on what kind of problem I was going to have to solve with the seller. So, for example, if it was an absentee owner that was an out-of-state absentee owner and the property was vacant and then they were also tax delinquent, I very clearly knew what the problem was. They have a rental property. Right. And they obviously have a property that they don't have the money to fix up to get tenant occupied again. And that's why they're behind on their taxes. And so that was the problem I'm going to solve. And that's a low-hanging fruit example. But that's where I think people really struggle. Sometimes they want to find the list that guarantees that they're going to get results instead of looking at it as the list is just your shortcut, your head start on figuring out what problem you're going to solve. And, just breaking it down even and internally realizing that wholesaling is a simple business. And sometimes we overcomplicate it. And just throughout all those, it ended up being 53 days of being live. I just kept reminding myself that this is a simple business. It's just about numbers. It's a numbers game. That's all it is. The more people I turn the lights on and tell them I want to buy their house, it's the same thing on dispositions. I just got to reach out to all the cash buyers and tell them I have a house I want to sell or a contract I want to sell. And that led to success.
Yeah, because it seems like you just throw out a net and see who responds, basically, right? I mean, what were some of the things you were doing? Were you saying anything magical to them? What are magic words you were using to get them to basically want to come on and work with you? No
magic words. I think a couple of the things that I think sometimes we overthink the initial. Let's talk about just specifically SMS marketing, okay? Because that's what I did. When you look at that, sometimes we overcomplicate what that initial text message needs to say, right? It's gotten more and more difficult over the past 6, 9, 12 months because the carriers are, restricting what we can and can't say. They're spamming they're making our accounts spam, things along those lines. They're restricting some words we can't say. The initial goal in the initial text is to just get them to respond. And so that was probably one of the biggest things that I've seen is I see people, they say, hey, my initial text messages say things like, are you interested in selling 123 Main Street? Or, something along selling real estate and the property address and things along those lines. None of my initial text messages had anything to do with real estate. It was, hey, first name, did you receive my voicemail?
No,
hey,
you didn't give them a voicemail. Wait a minute.
Right. There is no voicemail. Hey, Chris, did you receive my letter? If you got that text message, what are you going to say?
What letter?
What letter? Exactly. That was one of them. And the other one is, who is this? They don't have you saved in their phone and they think immediately. And so at that point in time, my next quick reply is, my name's RJ Bates III, and I'm interested in purchasing 123 Main Street. Are you looking to sell? And then from there, it flowed. If they say, yes, I am looking to sell, I had another quick reply that just says, it would basically ask them, is your house scary, ugly, good, perfect? Is it tenant occupied? If so, how much is the rent? And if they gave me those, I was shooting them an offer. So 3 text messages in, I'm getting to an offer.
So you wasn't wasting a bunch of time running ARVs, trying to calculate repairs and all the other stuff they tell you to do. I mean, how are you able to do that, RJ? They don't understand.
So what I'm doing is I'm waiting to get all of that information. So at that point in time, I know first they want to sell their house. If it's tenant occupied or vacant. If it's tenant occupied, I know what the rent rate is. And I know if they tell me if it's good, it probably needs a cosmetic rehab. If it's ugly, it's probably really bad. Like we're talking about, I think there was one person that said scary. And that was like, nobody's going to say my house is scary. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be, and then there's the people that say perfect. And those are the people that want full market retail, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point in time, I know everything that I need to know, but making a lot of assumptions, but that's what we're doing when you're virtual wholesaling. I mean, I'm not going to go out and look at a property in Berlin, New Hampshire. You know, it's just not going to happen. And so at that point in time, that's when I'm running my comps and I'm saying, okay, you know, I had help. Obviously, I had a bunch of people watching. And so, you know, a perfect example is this is when I was in Shreveport, Louisiana, you hooked me up with Chevy out in Shreveport. And you know, I'm on the phone with Chevy saying, hey, where do I need to be on this? Another thing is I could ask someone watching, you know, a lot of people help me in Baltimore, Maryland. Hey, what are the repairs like? Here in Texas, we could say $25 a square foot for a cosmetic rehab, but they're saying, hey, it's more like $40, $45. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where I need to be. And then that's how I'm making my offers right there at that point.
So you're not wasting a lot of time and energy and effort and trying to make everybody feel good. It's just move on to the next one.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think if anybody watched me in the Closers Olympics or watched any of these, you know, 53 lives that I did, I mean, my whole goal is to be as efficient as possible because again, what is wholesaling? It's a numbers game, right? I need to speak to as many sellers as possible. And then once I have that under contract, I need to get that in front of as many cash buyers as possible. That's my job. As a wholesaler, that's what I'm doing. And, you know, so getting wrapped up on one deal and getting tied down, I think that was probably the biggest change evolution that I had as an acquisitions person. If you go back and you watch the first 3 or 4 days, I really slowed down at times and analyzed them and the deals. Part of that was I was in Cleveland, Ohio, Kansas City, Missouri, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, lower income, heavy rental areas, right? Very difficult sometimes to find the actual true ARV. You know, I mean, in those areas, and you're in St. Louis, and so you get it. I mean, you look at a deal, you know, someone could say, hey, I'm wanting to sell a house. I've even talked to you about deals in St. Louis before, you know, where it's like, dude, this house is only $15,000 and there's a house that sold across the street for $75,000. And you're like, yeah, but you just don't get it, RJ. Here in St. Louis, that street's not good and that street is good, you know? And so sometimes those areas were a little bit more difficult to analyze the deals. But later on, when you saw me in similar markets at Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama, I was a lot quicker to just move past those deals. Instead of trying to manufacture a deal, just say, hey, look, that seems like it's too high. You know, I'm going to have to move on from this one and find the deal where the seller is truly motivated and they're willing to sell at a steep discount, because that's what I'm looking for. Instead of trying to find a marginal deal where I'm what I consider manufacturing a deal.
Right. Trying to create one and overworking it and overthinking it.
Right.
So, yeah, definitely I can agree with that. And you helped me with that as well. It helped me speed up our process, disqualify these people, stop wasting a lot of energy.
Yep.
They're not motivated. We even added an extra question early in our conversation with sellers on an initial call. Is selling something you've been considering, or you just looking to get an offer?
Right.
If they say something like, oh, well, what kind of offer you'll give me? You know,
right.
They're motivated. They letting you know early. Why are you wasting all that energy on these people?
Exactly. And that's the thing is, you have to look at it as your currency as a wholesaler is basically your time, right? Because it's a numbers game, right? I can't stress that enough. It's about how many sellers are you going to get in front of, you know? And if you're in front of somebody right now and they're saying, make me an offer, you might be one text away from the guy saying, yes, for $5,000. But you stopped to talk to the guy who says, make me an offer. And to be honest with you, man, a lot of times what I found out, I mean, we sent out, I say we, I mean, it was all me. I mean, Cassie basically just sat down and kind of entertained people for a little bit. Over 160,000 texts.
Wow.
So I have a really strong understanding of the people that the trigger words of what is going to lead down the path of I'm a motivated seller and I actually want to sell my house. And if they're just saying make me an offer, a lot of times what I found out was, again, going back to the list, I specifically was targeting landlords, right? I wanted to talk to the landlord, the business professional. I didn't really want to talk to the owner occupant, where I needed to build a lot of rapport and understand their sob story and take that time. I wanted to talk to the business professional that says, look, I'm done with Birmingham, Alabama. I'm selling my portfolio.
Right.
You know, and I understand that you need to buy at a discount because you're an investor just like me. That's the guy I wanted to talk to. And a lot of times what I found out is the guy that was saying, make me an offer, he really just wanted to know what the offer was. He actually probably didn't even if you offered him full market value, he probably wasn't even going to accept it.
Right.
He just wanted to know what his house was worth to you, you know?
So thank you for giving me a free appraisal over the phone.
Right. So it was just, that was one of the biggest things for me is just being as efficient as possible and just pre-qualifying people with those questions. That was also another evolution of myself throughout the process. Just realizing what was working, what wasn't working. There was a couple of markets where I actually shifted the quick reply. For example, when we were in Hawaii, I noticed that the quick reply that was very blunt and straight to the point of, is your house, you know, ugly, scary, perfect, good? It was off-putting to them. They didn't like it. So I basically had to change it to where I was saying, if you have a reason to sell your house, and it was more professionally written than this, but basically, if you have a motivation, I might be the solution to that motivation if you can answer these questions for me. And you know, using batch leads, you can only have like 160 characters within that text. So I fit it somewhere in that 160 characters, but
perfectly.
but it was basically to just, you know, analyze what the responses that I was getting and then just shift based off the responses I was getting. That was one of the few markets where I noticed, hey, they're not vibing with what I'm saying here. And so I had to be a little bit more cognizant of where they were and aware that, you know, hey, they're not feeling the RJ Blunt, you know, response straight in their face.
Yeah, because some people can't take that, and that's, you know, that's another thing. Sometimes you have to change up character. That's that's an entrepreneurship trait. Say something's broken, change it, fix it. Don't just sit up and, well, I guess they don't like me. Hey, everybody ain't gonna like you no way.
Right. Exactly.
So get it out the way sooner. Nothing wrong with that. So people that's watching, we got about 50 people watching across the multiple platforms now. Give this video a thumbs up, give it a like, give it a share. We're on with RJ Bates talking about these deals up in 50 deals in 50 states. So when it comes to wholesaling, I mean, were you always doing virtual wholesaling or were you doing more so the, you know, traditional wholesaling?
Yeah, we were pretty much DFW only for like the first 6 months. And then, you know, when we started it, you know, 2014, 2015, you know, I mean, DFW was already pretty saturated. You know, I mean, we were one of the hot markets already, a lot of wholesalers. And, you know, I'm one of those guys that has a big vision for what I want titanium to be. And so we immediately, you know, branched out to Austin and San Antonio. And then probably couple months after that, we expanded to Portland, Oregon, Phoenix, Arizona. We tried Baltimore, and you know, ever since then, we've pretty much just been in multiple states. You know, the first ever podcast I ever did was the Joe Fairless podcast, and we ended up buying a deal in Jackson, Mississippi, and Dayton, Ohio from there, and you know, so virtual wholesaling has pretty much always been a part of our business since, you know, the first year, basically. And what we learned is, hey, it just opened up more opportunities for us. You know, I mean, to be real with you, I mean, the only reason why I go to a house in Dallas to take pictures is because I'm here. And as crazy as that sounds, it's not like I'm going to do something magical at the house. I'm still closing. I've always wanted to close every deal over the phone. I've never seen the point in going to the appointments. And that was another big reason why I wanted to do this challenge as well, because that was always a conversation that Cassie and I had. It's one of the few disagreements that we've had as business partners. She likes going on the appointments. I don't. I've always wanted to be the person that just closes it over the phone, be 100% virtual. I'm big on efficiency and speed. And, I think this kind of proved my concept a little bit. But we saw that early on when we were getting deals in Portland, Oregon, Phoenix, Arizona. We were able to acquire them, get the pictures taken, dispo them easily. We were making better margins in some of those other markets than we were here in DFW because they weren't at the time as saturated with wholesalers. And so this has always been something that I've wanted us to be, was 100% virtual. And then the best excuse that I've ever had is COVID. As soon as COVID hit, the day the NBA announced, hey, we're shutting down, and then March Madness went away, and Tom Hanks had COVID, and the world just kind of went into panic mode. I'll never forget. I came in the office and said, hey, we're going 100% virtual. We're not going on appointments anymore. I don't care if it's next door, and exactly. I was excited about it, and not from the aspect of a worldwide pandemic, but from the aspect of this is what I wanted us to be anyways. And, it caused a little bit of issues because we weren't set up for it. And then that's what I'm talking about. We were not getting the results we wanted. We were not getting the results that we deserved, to be honest with you. And a lot of that goes back to Cassie and I pulled ourselves out of the business too quickly. We did not do things organically at times, as much as we thought we were. And also sometimes you have to realize it doesn't matter how big checks you're cashing or how much money's in your bank. That can all disappear very quickly. And the other thing is if you don't have the right systems in place, you don't have the right processes in place, you haven't built out your training manuals, you're not training appropriately, you're not holding your team accountable, truly holding them accountable, not just having conversations, but actually holding them accountable and being a business leader, then you're going to struggle. And that's where we were, man. We were struggling for the past couple of years, man. I mean, it just bullshit that I was tired of dealing with, and at some point in time, it was like, dude, am I actually a cleaner or am I just saying that because I want to be? Am I actually a Michael Jordan, or am I really just self-proclaimed and I'm actually like Steve Kerr's backup? And that's where I pretty much was. And so it was like, you know what? How about this? I'm just going to announce the game. I'm going to put the ball in my hands. There's going to be no one else on the court with me. I'm going to turn on all the lights and see what happens. And what happened is it forced us to change. Our entire business is different now. I mean, as of today, we're moving offices.
Really?
We got a new office. We're actually creating the business that we've always wanted. We've always wanted it, but we didn't take the time to create it. We just wanted it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you really want some food from a restaurant, but you don't take the time to actually go to the restaurant, order it. It's just, you just sit there and talk about it. That's kind of what we were doing.
Yeah, I want that $50 Ruth Chris steak, but I ain't never been there before. I don't know. I heard about it.
Right. We really wanted it. And on top of that, dude, I could talk to anyone in this industry, anyone. And I understood exactly where they were in their business. No one knows something that I don't know. I don't say that from like an ego standpoint. Like Donovan Ruffin, absolutely crushing it. He just showed me his tax return on Facebook or Instagram the other day, $6 million.
Wow.
Love that guy. But there's nothing that he's doing that I can't do. He just has done it. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Carlos Reyes. We went out to Phoenix. He took us out to dinner, sat there and talked to him for 3-4 hours. There's nothing that man is doing right now that I don't know how to do, except for the fact that he went out there and took massive action and did it. And instead, I decided, instead of just staying focused on a hedgehog concept, which what that means is I'm laser focused on what I'm doing right now. I'm going to wholesale these houses. This is what I'm going to do. And instead, I decided I want to wholesale this house. I want to flip that house. I want to buy this as a rental. I want to owner finance this one. I want to Airbnb that one. I'm going to start a podcast over here. I'm going to start a YouTube channel over here. Oh, by the way, I want to have a lot of Instagram followers too.
You get pulled every which way.
And then at the end of the day, I'm like, damn, I'm not good at anything. Like, that's where I was at. And I'm still at the point right now. Literally today, this was the conversation. We moved in the office and I said, okay, where's my desk going to be? And Elijah and Cassie were like, wherever you want it to be. And I was like, well, I got a podcast tonight. I need something with a background. I'm gonna be right here. Elijah's like, why are you going to be on a podcast? And I said, well, I told Chris that I would do it. And, you know, he helped us out with the Shreveport deal. And, you know, I'm going to do it because I told him I would do it. And he's like, for what? We're not there yet. I mean, literally, I'm at the point right now where it's like, I want to find the next level of success that I desire. And what I mean by that is I don't care that anybody knows how many deals we do, where we do them, or anything. I just want to go out there and be the cookie monster of real estate and sell as many deals as I possibly can. So at any point in time, when no matter what I want to do, I can do it. That's where our whole team is. That's our mindset right now. This might be the last podcast that I do outside of my own for a very long time, just because I want to stay so laser focused on what we are trying to accomplish as a company, because that's where we need to be.
Yeah, you're right. Focus is a big thing because, I mean, you start doing too much stuff because, like, I'm the same way. I got a store here with furniture and collectibles. I mean, this stuff pulls around and people say, how do you do all this stuff? You're right. I'm doing too much. Pull back, say, focus on this, you know, focus on that, and cut all this other stuff off because it can be, you know, overwhelming. Most definitely.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, man, is what did I say at the beginning? Wholesaling is a simple business. Sometimes because we, as business owners, we're striving to be so much bigger than we really can be at the moment. Because it's simple, we decide that we want to do something else.
You say that's easy. That should be able to run itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, why don't I just become the best? That's what Donovan Ruffin did. Donovan Ruffin has said, I'm going to be the best. And then he started doing something else. And dude, when I interviewed Donovan Ruffin on my podcast, it was probably 3 years ago at this point. He came on, he was running another business. Okay. And his business strategy was, I hire a bunch of guys and they drop like 500 bandit signs on the weekend. And then, you know, we answer the phones and we wholesale deals. Somehow I stretched that interview out for 30 minutes and people enjoyed it, but it was a terrible podcast. And I would say that to Donovan straight to his face. Now the dude has like a massive office in Dallas. He has like 30 acquisitions guys, and they're absolutely crushing it because he built a business. At the time, he wasn't running an actual business. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's where I don't want to be. I want to get back to, I can sit there and be proud to know that the blood, sweat, and tears that I put in was building the business with my partners. And that's where we're solely focused right now.
Yeah. How important is that to learn from other entrepreneurs' mistakes or successes? How important is that, you think?
Well, I think it's vital. You know, I mean, to sit there and watch what other people are doing and find inspiration in it. I mean, I'm a huge chip on the shoulder kind of guy, you know, like Tom Brady. You know, he always talks about he was drafted 199th in the 6th round, you know, 198 guys before him. And, you know, tonight, and then he just kicked off, you know, he's 43 years old, you know, 14-point favorite tonight on the road, you know, as a 43-year-old quarterback. You know, he's going to go down as the greatest of all time. And what inspires him to keep going is, obviously there's more to this, but the main thing is he's got a chip on his shoulder. He wants to prove everybody wrong. And so for me, what I see is I find inspiration from people, but I'm a uber competitive person. And so I want to be the best at what I'm doing. I find it pointless to not want to be the best at something. You know, what's the point in doing it? I've even had that conversation with myself about my podcast is what's the point in continuing my podcast if I'm not going to try to beat Steve Trang or Bigger Pockets that have these massive followings, 500,000 subscribers on YouTube? What's the point in doing my podcast if I'm not taking a step every week to trying to beat them? Same thing when it comes to wholesaling. I look at Donovan Ruffin 3 years ago. I interviewed him and he was doing nothing but bandit signs. He's in my backyard. He's in my market. And now he's a better wholesaler than me in DFW. I don't think he is nationwide, but in DFW.
On that 50 and 50, that shut it down right there. Just keeping it real.
What my point say that is that's, you know, I find inspiration from being competitive with other people. He might not. I don't really care. I'm doing it for myself. You know, I mean, and then, you know, the other thing is finding what they do successful and copying it. You know, my good friend Corey Peterson wrote a whole book about this. Copy your way to success. You know, I mean, he literally owns like hundreds of units of multifamily across the country, and all he did was copy what other people does.
Yeah. What's the saying? It's okay to be a copycat as long as you copy the right cat.
I love it. I love it.
Like, don't be a copycat. Shoot, you better copy. Shoot.
Right. That's all wholesalers are. I mean, come on. There's very few people that are doing something that is original that somebody else hasn't all done. So we're all copying to some degree. It's just about, you know, perfecting it and making sure that you really dial in those systems and processes and the training and the hiring and the company culture and all those different things are what differentiate you from the other wholesalers out there.
Most definitely. So when you were talking to these sellers all across the nation, some sounded motivated, some didn't. What were you doing to the ones that were close on where you needed to be as far as price? What were some of the tactics or strategies you were using to try to get them down to the number you need them to be at? Or do you just
you know, I mean, for me, I'm on this challenge specifically, I didn't try to slow play it, I guess is the best way to put it. You know, for example, I would have slowed things down and tried to buy deeper at different points in times. But because it was, hey, this is my one day in California or my one day in Missouri, so I need to get the deal. You know, I was shooting my shot pretty early. You know, I was coming out with my offer instead of asking them necessarily where they wanted to be and then, you know, anchor price them and things along those lines. But I'm a naturally very aggressive acquisitions person anyways. I don't like to play a whole lot of games. You know, I think sometimes people, you know, they overthink it a little bit. And I love John Martinez. I love Steve Trang. You know, they both have, you know, sales techniques and training courses. And I love what they have to say. But I think to a certain degree that the main thing that you need to be focused on is what is their problem and how are you solving that? And you can do that efficiently, and you can do that without playing games or toying with their emotions. And so for me, it was just kind of being very straightforward about where I needed to be. And I think sometimes that's refreshing to the seller and makes them want to work with us more so than the salesman techniques that some people use. And so for us, for me specifically, that's what fits my personality is just being very straightforward and aggressive.
Right. Be yourself. Be the best you can be, right?
Right. Exactly.
Nothing wrong with that. So when you got these people locked up, what were you doing as far as getting cash buyers? You kind of touched on it earlier. How were you able to find the cash buyers for those deals?
Yeah. So one of the major things that we had to change, you know, going into this, the dot process is, man, if I get a deal in, you know, St. Louis, Missouri, I'm just going to call Chris Monroe and he's going to dispo it for me. What we ran into is a lot of places that we were getting deals where there was either not a JV partner, or there was, and they had never done a deal before, so they didn't know how to dispo. So we very quickly had to kind of, week one, it was kind of like, rewind. We got to change plans here. Like, how are we going to now dispo these? And we actually used the exact same techniques that we were using to find the motivated sellers to find the cash buyers. And I know, like, Batch says that, hey, their system is not meant for dispositions. It's mainly meant for acquisitions. But we were going on the prop stream, pulling the cash buyers list, uploading it, skip tracing it, and then using the same techniques, the same text templates. Hey, Chris, did you receive my voicemail? Who is this? Hey, this is RJ Bates. I've got an investment property at this address, and here's the price, and here's the pictures. And that's what's worked for us. I mean, look, there's other things that we did. We use Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, the Facebook groups, JV partners, a lot of different other techniques. I mean, we also use the batch dialer to start cold calling the cash buyers as well. But that's been mainly our main active source of trying to do dispositions has been the SMS campaigns, the same way we were doing acquisitions.
I know that's right. Because, a lot of people worry about that. Oh, I got to find a buyer. I mean, was that really a worry for you, though? I mean, were you like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a buyer?
So, I mean, in some places, yeah, and it still is to this day. I mean, we're still working some of those deals, quite a few of them, to be honest with you. I mean, we've had title issues on quite a few of them. I mean, we ended up with 86 contracts. So, I mean, it was there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of title issues that we had to deal with. There's access issues. I think one of the deals in Jacksonville, Florida, we contracted in August, and we didn't get access to it until October. I mean, it's just crazy shit. I mean, it's COVID has played an impact of that, being virtual. Some of the sellers being virtual themselves. I mean, some of the deals, it's like the sellers are like, I have no idea how you can get in the house. I haven't seen the house in 5 years, and I live in Colorado, and the deal's in North Carolina. Like, you figure it out.
Yeah. So that show you, though, to cast that net, and because all of them ain't gonna make it. Obviously, a lot of people don't receive that. Everything you talk to, everything you lock up, will not make it to the finish line.
Exactly. And look, at some point in time, you also have to start making a decision of when you're talking to a seller that you've contracted a deal, and they tell you, I don't know how you can get in the house, and I'm not going to take any steps to getting into the house. You now have to look at it and say, how much time and energy are we going to put into getting into this house? And is the work worth the reward? And on most of them, the answer was yes, but some of them we had to say, no, it's not worth it. And we just got to cut bait on this one. I mean, some of them, it was like, title issues were not going to be solved. Sellers realizing that they owed $20,000 in back taxes and they had no idea. Some of those deals you just have to walk away from. I'm reading Robin's comment down there. Nobody's daring enough to top or even match RJ's challenge. I haven't seen anybody try to do a challenge. I have seen other people do challenges that asked other people to do things, but I haven't seen anybody do a challenge themselves. So
I think you reign supreme on this one for the moment. Juice.
I might have to do it again soon. I'm missing the lives, so I might have to do it soon.
Right. I mean, it is motivation, and it does push you forward to make you work. That's why people say, why you go live? It keeps me on the game because, it's a lot of distractions out here.
Absolutely, man. And to be honest with you, it also makes me closer to other people, like you, for example. I mean, we had talked previously, but never the day-to-day interaction. You were coming on probably, at least once a day. Hey, man, you were dropping the hashtag I stay woke and, what's going on, man? And, it was fun to be interacting with other people and doing business with people. I mean, dude, we have people that came from the lives that I didn't even know prior to that. I mean, Patrick Brown, Kip Stevens, Anna, Robin, Liana. I mean, just so many people that, we're doing business with on a daily basis at this point because of it. That's probably been my biggest takeaway from the challenge in and of itself, was just the relationships that we were able to build, and hopefully moving forward do a lot of business with those people.
Most definitely grow your network, because what they say, your network is your net worth.
Absolutely.
You need some business partners in other places. So basically, once you lock them up, you ended up doing a lot of JV deals, basically to dispo them, and that kind of helped you out as far as getting rid of them.
Yeah, that and some JV partners. I would say 50% of the deals JV'd with, and the other 50% we dispoed either through Facebook, Craigslist, or the SMS.
So it really wasn't that big of a deal. A lot of people worried about, I ain't gonna be able to find a buyer, and you got to get them.
There's been very few deals that we weren't able to find a buyer. And when I say that, it was most of the time, it wasn't because we couldn't find a buyer. It was the buyers told us we either overpaid for the house, or we identified an issue with the property that was not disclosed to us. For example, a deal in Kansas City, basically didn't have a foundation. It was just sitting flat on dirt. That's an issue. Buyers let us know that. We contracted the deal at like $10,000. There was no room to negotiate down. You
can't go to zero.
Right. And so that was just like, hey, there's no buyer that wants to buy this house. We found the buyers. It wasn't the right fit for them because of the property. And so those are the types of deals where we're having to drop, not because we can't find buyers, it's because it just isn't a good deal.
Yeah, that makes total sense. People worried about the buyer. I'm like, just go step by step. Whatever problems come up, handle them. Because they're going to come up, right? You can't avoid them.
Right.
Title issues, you don't know that stuff until they start working on it.
Absolutely. Dude, do you know how many deals we've done now where it's like they didn't even know that there was heirs? They didn't know that they didn't acquire the property the right way, or that there was back taxes. And some of that's like, you don't know if the seller's like actually truthful, or if they're lying and they knew this up front and they were just hoping that you wouldn't catch it or whatever. But there's been a lot of little issues that have come up, and we've just had to overcome those, slowly but surely.
Yeah, they slick. They be like, yeah, we can't get it. We can't figure it out. Like, yeah, I know something going on, man. You knew this. You been paying taxes in 20 years.
Exactly.
So that helps. Cool. Let me see here. So if y'all have any questions about anything we've been talking about or anything, drop them in the comments. We'll try to get this before we wrap this thing up. Let's see here. Tamika wants to know, how big was your list you were pulling for each market?
Yeah, that's a good question. On average, I was sending somewhere between, on an average day, obviously there was days I sent far less and far more, but 2,500 to 3,000. But some of those were mixing a couple of markets. I would say every day, if I was going into a market where I knew it was going to be easy to get a deal, for example, Jackson, Mississippi, I only pulled a list of like 250 people, and I got a deal. I didn't want to get multiple deals there. I wanted to get one and be done and then move on to the other markets. Some markets, like Little Rock, Arkansas, where I was okay with getting multiple deals there, or Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We pulled somewhere between 1,500 to 2,000 just to get the full list that we wanted and hit it all. But some of the other markets, we were up 5, 6, 7, 8,000 people to get a deal. So
wow.
I
guess that changed because of the competency of the person you had to dispo the deal there. That's what made you do it.
What the difference was, and I'm assuming this list that she's talking about is acquisitions. I'm only talking about acquisitions. I'm not talking about dispositions. On acquisitions, for example, Colorado, pretty much everywhere on the west side, Colorado, Utah, Nevada, California, those places were very difficult to find deals, find motivation in sellers. Very difficult. Just they're very saturated markets. They're getting text all the time. They're getting cold calls. They're getting letters. They're upset. Whereas a place like Maine, they don't get text. Like my response rate in Maine was like above 50%.
Wow.
I mean, they don't receive those types of marketing in that market. Whereas in Colorado, they're getting 30 texts a day, And so those places, you just have to pull bigger lists and find the hopefully the one person that hasn't been hit, or hopefully you say something nice enough or hit them on the right day to get them to talk to you, And so really seeing the difference between the markets was eye-opening to me, because I was kind of always the person from ignorance. I was saying, it doesn't matter. It's a numbers game. If you push it out there, it still is to a certain degree. But I'm going to tell you, I mean, when it comes to places like Utah and Idaho and Colorado, I mean, those are going to be very, very difficult markets right there.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a difference. Some people got high motivation, some have no motivation. And I guess by doing this nationwide thing, did you find another market that you think you want to kind of stay in? Don't tell us what it is, but when you want to kind of stay in a little bit and do more deals in?
Yeah, and I don't have a problem saying it, to be honest with you. And to be real with you, people have said that before to me, like, RJ, I can't believe you're willing to share this. And it's like, dude, there's more than enough to go around. I mean, for us, some of those markets that we've identified, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Little Rock, Arkansas, if Dispo was a little bit easier in Maine, probably. I still got to figure that out. But I really enjoyed the Northeast a lot. Maine, New Hampshire, Connecticut. Vermont was a little bit tough. That was tough because of comps. Propelio, PropStream, they didn't really work very well up there. So that was another obstacle that we had to overcome. But, to be honest with you, there was very few east of the Mississippi River. There was very few states that I would say stay away from.
Really?
West of the Mississippi River, I mean, you're going to be dealing with some issues there.
You don't want to be too far out in the woods in Wyoming somewhere. Like,
exactly.
Who's buying in Wyoming?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
they'll tell you in Wyoming it's the number one real estate market in the world. I got that too, by the way. At one point in time, I was like, every day somebody was telling me that their market was the hottest market in the United States. Maine, Nebraska, Wyoming, South Carolina, they all told me. And I've only just got the point, and I was like, y'all all say this.
Yeah, I didn't like South Carolina. They got that non-disclosure stuff there. I didn't like that stuff.
Yeah.
I dabbled in it a little bit. So I had to step away from that. Let's see here. We will continue to dig up into many markets. I know that's right. Many, many markets. So did you have a favorite market overall, or what do you think?
My favorite day was Massachusetts. I don't know if it's because I'm a big New England Patriots fan or just the vibe of the day. I really enjoyed the conversations. I like markets where there's the ARV is going to be somewhere in the six-figure range. I don't like dealing with low value properties. $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 ARVs. Those are tough. It's tough to get good spreads. I like the deals where ARVs 200, 250, you're getting a good spread where you can get that $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 wholesale fee on average. That's where I like to be. And I really enjoyed the conversations with the sellers there. And so Massachusetts was probably my favorite day of all. But other places that really surprised me, Arkansas and Iowa were shocking. Iowa really. But Iowa, I'm curious to know if Iowa is because of the natural disaster. They had what was called a derecho there. And basically that's like an inland hurricane.
What?
And it did a lot of storm damage to that market. And so I'm curious to know if it's really that good of a market or if it's just because of the derecho. I'm leaning more towards the fact that it was the derecho, and it's probably going to be a more similar market to like Wisconsin or Nebraska, where it wasn't quite as easy to get deals there. But those days were really enjoyable. What's up, Kip? Kip was the first guy every morning when I went live. He was always there. Well, good morning, RJ. And he lives in California. I mean, some days, dude, he was up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, telling me good morning. So love Kip.
Dang, good one, Kip. So you were talking about, some markets or sometimes there's situations that can change things. Like in Houston, when that hurricane happened, a lot of people made a lot of money in a come up right around that time. So, I mean, do you think when stuff like that happens and you see it on the news, do you think people should target those type of markets for those type of situations?
Absolutely. If you're in a position where you can actually help solve those people's problems, right? Like, this goes a little bit further than someone that is tax delinquent, right? Or they just lost their tenant and now they want to sell their house. These are people where straight line winds just blew half their house down.
Wow.
And you're reaching out to them and saying, I can solve that problem. I can buy your house. You need to really make sure that you're in a position to actually truly help those people. Using your example of Houston, the other thing is you need to have a lot of market knowledge and wisdom as well, right? We tried to do a couple in Houston right after Hurricane Harvey, and we actually pulled out because we didn't feel like we had the knowledge. A lot of people ask about, is this in a 100-year floodplain? How many times has this been flooded? Was this whole street flooded? Like, very market-specific questions. And when you're trying to do things virtually, could we have gotten those answers for them? Sure. Was it going to be worth it to us to set up the systems and processes to do that on a consistent basis? No, I don't think so.
Wow.
And so I think, yes, that's a good idea to target those areas, but also just make sure that, hey, remember you're dealing with people on the other end of this, and make sure you're set up for success there.
I know that's right. And so we want your prediction here. Edward up here in St. Louis says, will the effects of COVID make sellers motivated in 2021?
I think in some markets, yes, where it's getting hit harder than in other areas. I think it also depends on how the state government is reacting to COVID. Places here like Texas where we're opening back up and things are, getting back to as normal as they could possibly be. We still have to wear masks and things like that, but the businesses are opening and getting back to normal. I had somebody today tell me Massachusetts was back on lockdown, Yeah, I think at some point in time, there's going to be people that cannot sustain the shutdown of businesses, and I think that falls on the state government's, shoulders. How is the governor handling that state by state? And are they taking into consideration what's happening there with their economy and their real estate markets? Eventually are going to be impacted by that for sure, because of the loss of income and the loss of jobs. I think also the aspect of what are they doing with the evictions and tenants and things like that. We got a deal in Rochester, New York. Numbers are good. Our buyers are even telling us numbers are good.
Wow.
But they're not going to buy the deal because of what New York State has done with the evictions. I think they just extended it for another 6 months where you can't evict somebody and this is a rental property. And they're like, hey, pre-COVID, this is a buy all day. Right now, no, we're not going to do it. So, yeah, I think state by state, that's going to be an impact there.
Yeah, that's crazy there, because we got a deal like that right now. I could have sold it about 6 times, but there's a tenant in there that hasn't, does not comply.
Right.
It can really be an issue unless you find a buyer to say we buy sight unseen, we'll buy it. I guess it's got to be that good of a deal.
Right.
There are people to buy from auctions and stuff to buy these houses with people in them, even though they've been foreclosed on or whatever. People buy those properties still,
but it's got to be so deep, such a discount, and then how do you even have that conversation with the seller? The sellers look at this saying, but man, you can buy this deal for $35,000. You can rent it out for $800 a month. And then you look at the market and it's like, that's the going rate. Like that's what those deals are going for, right? And then your buyers are saying, yeah, but I'm not buying right now because our governor said that if I put somebody in there and they just decide right now, day one, I ain't paying you. We don't know when the end's coming that we'll ever be able to get them out. It's crazy. To be honest with you, I don't want to get into politics, but that's just crazy to me.
Yeah, it definitely can. So you all give this video a thumbs up, give it a like, give it a share. If you got any other questions, drop them in. We'll try to get them asked. Let's see here. It's still a seller's market. Yeah. In the same boat, waiting for a tenant to be evicted. Yeah, you can wait. But another thing is, why not do the cash for keys or something more creative? Why wait for an eviction? We can give them, here's $500 and a truck. Move out of here. You know?
Well, the problem is in some of these locations, they have no motivation. Like their government is telling them, you don't have to pay. You don't have to get out. You know, I mean, it's like in New York specifically, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, literally, I mean, you could move in day one and they're telling you right now, indefinitely until we lift this, you know, you cannot be removed. So even if you go to them and say, I'll give you $1,000 in the steak dinner, you know, they're going to be like, I'll take my free rent for the next 6 months. How about that?
No, I need you out of here.
Right, so that's $4,800. So, you know, and I got a place to live for the next 6 months and I ain't got a job, you know, so it's pretty crazy, man.
Whole campaign about, you know, making free rent. And I was like, what? These people serious too. I thought it was a game. They're serious. Free rent. Let's see. Hey, Chris, one of my girls told to tell me you sexy as hell. Oh, all right. Tell them hi, Kip. All right. Let's see. She's not trying to go there. We're just trying to stay for free. Yeah. So people are definitely trying to take advantage of this. I mean, what can we do to get around it? I mean, have you seen any other strategies that we can get these people out or do something to solve this problem?
You know what? To be honest with you, man, knock on wood, I've been very blessed to this point. You know, we have a lot of owner finance deals as well as a lot of rentals. All of our rentals have paid on time. We only had one request for a forbearance on an owner finance. And honestly, they wrote a letter to our debt service collector and we responded back and asked some questions. And basically we're like, if this is the answers, then the answer is no, we're not going to give it. And they basically said, okay. And they've literally been overpaying every month since then. So we've been very blessed. I think that comes down to, again, sometimes you're just going to get unlucky, right? I mean, look, we've had evictions before. We've had people not pay us. That we've had people tear properties up that they were renting from us. But it also goes back to right now, if you are a landlord and you can't evict somebody, you know, some of that you just have to chalk up to bad luck because of what happened with COVID. They could have lost a job. They could really actually be in a really bad position. There's nothing they can do about it. The other aspect of it is they could just be a piece of shit and just taking advantage of the situation. And if that's the case, then you have to go back to your systems and processes on how your tenant screening, you know, if you're doing lease options or owner finance, what is your screening process for those people? I'm very excited about the fact that, you know, we have so many notes that we've created that we haven't had to foreclose on anybody during this time. And everybody's paid on time and even overpaid us to a certain degree. So, you know, just going back and reevaluating those screening processes when you're actually selling a property, owner finance, lease option, or renting out. But right now, as far as what you could do, I mean, dude, if your government's telling you can't do anything about it, I mean, yeah, maybe you could ask them cash for keys. But to be honest with you, like Robin's situation, I think you're just kind of shit out of luck and you got to put your nose to the grind and go wholesale a bunch of deals and cover your note, you know, and every month realize you're paying that principal balance down. And that's kind of your, I guess, somewhat, you know, feel good moment of the shitty situation is that you owe a little bit less every month to you're on your mortgage, you know, but yeah, it just kind of sucks, man, you know, and hopefully that's not happening to too many people out there in a rapid fashion.
Yeah, we only got one troubled tenant, but he was troubled all along. He's always been late, but you know, they trickle in. You know, as long as they attempting, you know, don't just sit up and think you'll live for free. Maybe
right.
Be a little short or be a little late every once in a while or something, but you know, not too bad. As long as we keep them happy, I guess. Don't tear up my house. Please, when you leave, don't tear up my house. That's all I
Right.
do. And another thing, one of my students had a deal down in Georgia, and she was thinking that, oh yeah, I'm gonna put somebody in here and they're gonna give me $2,000 down. I said, please don't do that. You're gonna hate life. You're gonna hate real estate. You gotta get some skin in the game doing these creative type deals.
Yeah.
Because these people, they don't like this eviction stuff and all this stuff come up. You're in trouble. You don't
Dude, I literally just did a podcast. It was 4 minutes long. I released it on Saturday on Halloween, and I called it, "Are you tricking yourself or are you treating yourself?" And the whole point was, are you a wholesaler that is now deciding you want to flip houses or become a landlord? And realize that it's a whole different business. And there's a lot that goes into it. And one of those things is operating capital.
Yeah.
Like right off the bat, especially nowadays. I mean, dude, we have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow, right? I mean, you turn on one news channel, Trump's winning. You turn on another one, Biden's going to win. We have no idea what the impact's going to having on our local governments. We have no idea what's going to happen next week. I mean, dude, next week, literally, we could all be like, oh, we're all shut down. You can't go anywhere anymore, and all of these different things, right? Same thing could happen with our tenants. They could be told you got fired. There's no more jobs here. They don't have any money. They could not pay you this month. I'm going to tell you, they're not going to call you 15 days in advance and be like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm not paying you rent this month. Right. The way that works is they just don't answer the phone when you're calling them, 10 days after they were supposed to pay you. And they're like, hey, have you heard from, the tenants over there? No? Oh, shit. I guess they're not paying us, And you got to get into this routine of like, maybe they're a couple of days late and you just, oh, well, they've been there for 2 years. They're good people.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's going on. And so just make sure that you're in a financial position before you start taking on financially creative deals, flips, rentals, anything like that, man. Just especially right now, be safe. Be super safe.
Be high risk if you're doing it wrong.
Oh, look at Cassie come up with good ideas. Give your tenant a job.
Hey, don't think I won't. I put them to work. I got several businesses. What can you do? I got work for the blind.
Right.
So cool. Let's see. John Lewis say this interview was refreshing. Nice to see a big wig who shares the thorns that sometimes come out with the roses when real estate investing. RJ is a real one. He really opened up to us.
I appreciate that, John. Thank you.
That's cool. So that's great. So I know that you told us a little bit of some of the stuff you've done over your couple of years or few years in real estate investing. What are some of the mistakes you've made that you feel like you've learned from that you'll never do again?
Well, a lot of things I've already shared. I don't try to do everything at once. Comparison is the thief of joy. So don't sit there and watch people that you respect, that you're trying to learn from, and then try to go be them the next day. What I mean by that is if you're wholesaling and you're, doing 4 or 5 deals a month, that doesn't mean that you should go try to flip 4 or 5 houses the next month or buy, 5 rentals or anything like that. Just organically grow your business and do it at a consistent pace that you're always overly prepared for what's going to happen next. Don't assume everything's going to work out perfect, because wholesaling can give you this illusion that you have things set up, because it's a very simple business, and flipping houses is not as simple.
That's
Being
true.
a landlord is even more complicated, and people could be listening to this and be like, isn't the point to own real estate? Isn't the point to eventually own rentals? Yes, it is. But also do the math on if you're cash flowing, $3,000 or $300 a month. That's your total amount that's coming to you after your, mortgage and taxes and insurance. What happens when the AC goes out and you have to replace it for $3,500? How many months did you just not get paid? Just little things like that. Don't make those mistakes of trying to become something that you're not. If you're a wholesaler, be a wholesaler. And then when you decide to become a rehabber, set that up as a business and actually think about it and plan on it. Other mistakes that we've made, I mean, man, that's the big one, just trying to grow too fast. Honestly, I'm still trying to get out of the weeds on some of those, but other things that we've made is also just not being fully transparent with people fast enough. You know, when things weren't going the right way, private money lenders, partners, just things like that. Just should have been more open and honest about things. That's why I'm so open and honest now during podcasts like this. You know, I mean, I think people get more from that on just us sharing the good and the bad. You know, that's why I wanted to do it all live on the 50-50-50, because it was like, look, you're going to see me struggle. You're going to see me get off the phone with a seller and be like, I could have been better right there. You know, I didn't just go record 50 phone calls and wait for the one glorious one and then post it on Instagram. I showed you all the 49 bad ones before I got the one really good one.
Exactly.
You know? And just realize that everybody in this business has those really good moments and those really bad moments as well.
Most definitely. I know that's right. And Robert over here on Facebook says, besides a good deal, what can you bring to the table to help find an established wholesaler to JV with in a market you're not familiar with?
Well, find an established wholesaler JV with a market that you're not familiar with. So, for example, Robert, I know you're here in DFW. Or I'm 99% positive you're here in DFW. But, you know, say if you just decided you wanted to go JV with someone in Memphis, Tennessee, your responsibility at that point in time is either going to be you've got like a really big buyer that is going to be bringing consistent purchases to someone like a hedge fund or something along those lines, or even if it's, hey, you know someone in a market that right now has a deal and they can't move it, and maybe you're willing to go do the legwork to try to do the dispositions for them, like the texting and the cold calling and things like that, or you got to go out and find the deals. You know, I mean, I will say this, for as much as I'm out there on social media and putting my name out there, very few deals get brought to me just because of who I am. You know, I see Pace Morby talks about that a lot, where, you know, people bring him deals, but I think that's because he's also kind of showcasing that he's a buyer in all of these markets, right? So, for example, I get almost every deal brought to me in Hawaii because people know I'm in Hawaii, and if they see anything in Hawaii, they're like, "Oh, go to RJ," right?
He knows everybody there,
right? But I don't get that in St. Louis, and I've bought more deals in St. Louis than I bought in Hawaii.
Right.
Why is that the case? Because there's a ton of people in St. Louis, you know?
Yep.
So I'm just one of many in St. Louis. I'm one of the few in Hawaii. And so for you, man, the main thing is I would just put my nose to the grind and focus on getting deals. That's where you need to be. Or tell someone that you see struggling on dispositions and say, I'm willing to go do dispositions for you. Like, I'm willing to go put in the legwork and just, I'm going to invest the money. I'm going to pull the list. I'm going to skip trace it. And if I bring you a buyer at this price, we'll split it 50-50. If you came to me and you said that, I'd be like, have at it, boss.
So you don't even have to think about it. It's
right.
The problem off your plate. It's
right. I'm struggling. I don't have the manpower to sell that deal. I've already attempted and it hasn't worked. You want to go do it? Go do it.
Most definitely. And then Robin has a question here. Do you always follow the 1% rule, or is it area specific?
Very much area specific. 1% rule. You get laughed out of St. Louis. You get laughed out of Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama. You know, hell, I got laughed out of Kansas City and I was at 3%. So, I mean, shit, I don't know what they need in Kansas City. I mean, apparently they need the house for $1 and it rents for $1,000. I mean, I don't know what people buy in Kansas City. I know people crush it out there, but it ain't working for me in Kansas City. So, but you know, it's very much market specific, but you know, for where you are, Robin, in that, you know, Baltimore area, I think there's going to be some areas that it's 1%, other areas it's going to be 1.5%, maybe even 2%, you know. And look, at the end of the day, find the cash buyers there and ask them where they need to be, you know, and also go into your Facebook groups of the areas and see what people are selling. A good indicator of what people are wanting is say say you're in a big area that has a group that, has quite a few posts in it, Kansas City Real Estate Investment Group. Go in there and say the zip code is 66101. Search in the group 66101, and you'll see every post that has ever had that zip code in there. And then a good indication of what buyers want is when you see someone post a deal, how many comments there were. So if there was one that a guy was like, I got a deal on 66101 and it's rented out for $1,000 a month, I'll sell it for $100,000. And there was one guy that says, is this still available? That means he saw it 3 weeks after it was posted. And he was wanting to tell you, you were way overpriced. That's why no one commented on this. And I'll give you $50,000. Or you go down and you see the guy that says, I got a deal for $25,000. It's rented out for $700 a month, and you see 57 comments. Now you know that's where I need to be in this market. Yeah. And then you go reach out to all of those cash buyers, by the way.
Yeah, that just happened to me. I had a deal out of Ladue, and even though it wasn't really a deal, but just mentioning it as, something in Ladue, 80-some comments. I said, dang, turn these comments off. It's too much.
But exactly. But see, that's where people would come to you. This is what's funny about this. And I'm not talking shit about anybody that's watching this, but there will be people that will reach out to you in your DMs and ask you, hey, Chris, is Ladue a good area? Instead of just going in the local Facebook group and typing in Ladue, and then they see your post, and then they see the 80 comments, and then they know it's obviously a good area. And then there's my 80 buyers. And now you just solved all of your own problems. And you didn't even bother Chris. And oh, by the way, Chris gave you the answer for free. Mm-hmm. And it could have even been a person that you didn't even know. So definitely utilize those Facebook groups because they're great resources.
Right. Because most people think when you say post on Facebook, they think in marketplace. The groups is where you really want to get the people at, right?
It's where you do the research, man. It's there. It's free. The cash buyers are in there. They buy deals. Laughed out of Cali with the 1% rule.
Exactly. Yep. Don't want to do that. Let's see here. I was seeing the funniest video of Titus. Yeah, where's Titus?
He's in there being good today. So Robin misses Titus.
In the middle of moving. He's happy to move too.
Right.
So, cool. So that works, RJ. So what do you got planned coming up? Are you doing another one of these runs on another 50 and 50 or 20?
Yeah, I think we're going to do another one 2021 probably. Might change it up a little bit. Just add something new, fun. I haven't thought about it too much yet. Still just working these deals. Moved into the new office today. Look, man. My thing is at this point, I'm so laser focused on getting titanium to where we want it to be, where we need it to be. We have that big, hairy, audacious goal of wanting to own 1% of the United States, and I'm going to do everything in my power to get to there at some point in time. And I know that we're not on the path to do that. Right.
Wait a minute. You say you're trying to own 1% of the United States.
Yeah.
And what is that number? I mean, how many properties is there?
You know what? I don't know how I want to do it yet. I don't know if I want to do it by land volume or I think it needs to be by land volume. Yeah. I think I actually want to own like 1% of the actual land volume of the United States. I'm pretty sure if we do that, then the government has to start listening to us because we actually own 1% of it. Like we're actually kind of like a small little country at that point. So that's what my goal is.
Yeah, I just saw Rick Ross. He bought 87 acres for $1 million or something. Like that's cheap. Right. That's like a steal of a deal.
Right. Well, dude, there's so much land available, and especially in some of those places that I was just talking about are super difficult. Idaho, Colorado, dude, you can go out there and you can buy land for next to nothing and get it seller finance as well. Now you're going to be in the middle of nowhere, but still, at the end of the day, it's about having passive income as well with rentals and owner finances and things like that. But I'm super laser focused on what we need to do to start moving in that general direction, because we weren't. And so that's where all of my time and energy is going to be set on. And so in the future, when I come on and I do podcasts, we can be talking about some crazy shit that we're doing. Lot bigger, lot better than what we're doing right now.
I know that's right. So overall, with that 50 and 50 and 50, do you feel like that was a success, or what do you think about it overall?
No, I absolutely think it was a success. 49 out of the 50 states we got a contract in, 86 total contracts. Not sure how many are going to close yet because we're still working on them. But from the aspect of, what I really intended it to do, which was change the trajectory of titanium investments, it absolutely was a success. It was a great opportunity to work closer with my partners, Cassie and Elijah. Elijah moved here from Hawaii, lived in my house for 7 weeks, left for a couple of weeks, and then now he's back. It's been a massive opportunity for us to just grow together as a team and change where we're headed as a business. So I absolutely look at it as a success. I think a lot of people gained a lot of knowledge from it. And then also we built a ton of relationships with people throughout the country and even the world, man. Like I said, people in Israel, Philippines, UK, France, all over the place were watching those. And so I absolutely look at it as a success.
Say worldwide, before you know it, they all somewhere in North Korea saying we want to say it.
Right?
You don't want to get that. So I know you mentioned a little bit ago Tim Grover's book Relentless. Are there any other books, podcasts, or training resources that you would recommend for people to help get their mindset right to get in this game?
Yeah, my favorite book of all time is Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. And then The Dichotomy of Leadership as well. I absolutely love those two books. Relentless as well. And then podcasts. No, obviously, I mean, I wouldn't be a good promoter if I didn't say you got to listen to the Titanium Vault. But outside of that, to be honest with you, man, I don't really listen to a ton of podcasts, to be honest with you. As much as I enjoy being on them and hosting my own, I don't find a lot of inspiration from the format itself. I like it more when an individual talks to me. So if that's actually why I like Audible books, where I feel like the author is like sharing knowledge with me and it's less interview style like this. Even though I love doing these, it just doesn't resonate with me as much. So I'm bigger on the book side of things. But as far as, real estate investors that I think that you should definitely be following right now that are trending in the right direction, I think my boy Aaron Bevins down in San Antonio is just a rock star in the making. And I think Donovan Ruffin here in DFW is another one. That everyone should definitely be following right now. And then my good friend Nicole Espinoza is another one. Truly inspirational what she's doing as an entrepreneur and short sells. So those are the people that I recommend that you follow.
Most definitely. Cool. Anything else you want to share with the family before we wrap this thing up and do some more woke stuff?
Yeah, my final words would be if you didn't watch the 50-50-50, you don't have to go back and watch all 53 days to gain anything from it. The main thing I want you to take from it is that with massive action comes massive change. Don't overthink it. Keep it super simple. It's a numbers game. Turn on the lights. Get out in front of as many people as you possibly can. And don't have fear of failing in wholesaling. Okay. People limit themselves on how many texts they can send a day or how many cold calls they're going to make. And they think they're doing something. I mean, dude, there was days where we were sending out 6, 7, 8, 9,000 texts a day, me all by myself. Okay.
Crazy.
If you're not doing that kind of action, then you're not doing enough. And just go out there and fail forward when it comes to wholesaling, because you can take all of that and then figure out how to become a rehabber or landlord or a lender or something along those lines. But just in wholesaling, just go out there and take massive action.
That's right. Take massive action and don't make excuses. How do people connect with you? Your social media handles, things like that. If they want to reach out to you after listening to this podcast or show.
Yeah, so RJ Bates III on YouTube. We're always putting out new content. Instagram, RJ Bates III, and then Facebook, RJ Bates III. So, but Chris, thanks for having me on, buddy. I know it's been a long time coming for me to come on your show. I always love the Monday Night Raw. I love how you stole that. I love it so much, and
Cool.
Appreciate you having me on here, man.
All right, RJ, have a safe move, and thank you for coming on.
All right, see you, buddy.
Right, peace. All right, so let's see here. That's how we do it, family, right here each and every Monday night, 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern. We bring on somebody good that can bring some information to you to help you expand your knowledge. So like I say, he showed you sitting on his computer how to do all those deals, not making excuses, not wondering, I wonder what it looked like, running out to the house, begging people to sell them their house, none of that stuff. Sticking to the script, getting the deals, and good. And I appreciate you too, Cassie. Keep them straight. Keep them straight down there. Don't let them lose focus. Glad I caught this. That's great. So that's what I say. So give this video a thumbs up, give it a like, give it a share. If you are listening on the Woke Real Estate Podcast on Stitcher, Apple Podcast, SoundCloud, Anchor, Google Podcast, Spotify, or Amazon Podcast. That's a lot of podcast places, huh? We're on all of them. Give it a 5-star rating. We need every boost that we can get. Give us a 5-star rating. That helps out a lot. And don't forget, next Monday night, we're on with Miss Kayla Hobart. Kayla Buys Houses. That's November the 9th, 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern. We're on with her. And on the 23rd, we got locked in Mr. TJ out of Houston, Texas. Monday the 23rd, right before Turkey Day. Make sure you come on in and check us out on that, talking about those short-term rentals. If you ever want to be notified of the upcoming shows, all you have to do is text JV to 31996. That'll get you the free joint venture agreement. Plus, you'll be put on a notification to be notified of the upcoming Monday night shows. We have some others coming up that are going to be great as well. Haven't put out the information for that yet, going into 2021. And just text JV to 31996. If you haven't, join that free Facebook group, the Woke Real Estate Investing Group on Facebook, talking about Subject 2, talking about lease options, talking about seller financing, and so much more. Step on into the Woke Real Estate Investing Group on Facebook. Join it. It's free. Cost you nothing. Show up and win. Get surrounded by like-minded individuals as well. So hope this video helped you out. Hope this stream helped you out. Oh, love you. Oh, wow. Thank you. Love back. Love back to you, Kip. Appreciate it. Batch leads, code titanium. That's right. If you're using batch leads, any of the batch products, be sure to drop in that promo code titanium. I don't have a promo code yet. So drop in titanium if you hear this. Give them some love. Let them know where you heard of them if you haven't heard of them before now. So you got them on and help out the people. All right. So with all that being said, do what you do, be who you be, and I'll see you before you see me. Peace out.
And we have. And we have. And we have. Mr. I stay. Whoa, 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 whoa. And Mr. I stay.
Today's broadcast is being brought to you by WokeSkipTracing.com. Look up phone numbers and email addresses with ease, with pricing as low as only 15 cents per match, not per search, per match. If there's no number or email address, you don't pay. Get accurate data in just minutes. WokeSkipTracing.com. That's WokeSkipTracing.com.